What's up everybody, it's RJ here. Today we're gonna depart for a semi-modular journey and we're gonna make the Moog Subharmonicon and the Moog Grandmother interact by patching cables between each other. I'm gonna reproduce the patch that was played at the beginning step by step, and if on one hand all these steps together make that sound that you just heard, I think every single one of them is a valuable and interesting source of inspiration to craft crazy interesting sound and have a lot of fun. So stick around and let's go. For those who don't know, semi-modular synths are synthesizers that can produce sound even without any patch cable attached, as opposed to modular systems where you have to patch at least one cable in order to produce a sound. On a semi-modular system, you don't need to patch any cable, but if you want, you can make your own connections and customize the factory ones that are already wired in. Okay, we start with an empty patch. Only oscillator 1 is active. We actually take it off because what we want to do first is to get the Subharmonicon inside the Grandmother. And we can do that by selecting the output of the VCO2 and patching it into the noise in input in the mixer of the Grandmother. This way, whenever we put some volume in the noise, we get sound from the Subharmonicon. Now we can don't do much because the frequency is locked as the synth is not triggered. By the way, the Subharmonicon is quite a complex synth, but an amazing tool. And I'm not gonna go into detail about how to operate it, because today we focus on how to use it. But if you're curious, there are so many amazing videos online that you can check out. So in order to actually hear and be able to change the frequency of the Subharmonicon, we're going to do the following trick. We take the gate out from the ARP section and we put it into the clock of the Subharmonicon. This way, if you press play, we are gonna hear the frequency changing whenever we change the frequency in the Subharmonicon. And we can put in the oscillator one together. Let's choose a note, let's say F. And we're gonna tune them to the same key. It's already a cool sound. You have two oscillators and one is at a fixed frequency, the one from the Subharmonicon, but the oscillator one is free to play. Now the cool part begins, because if we put the arpeggiator and we hold it, we're then able to change notes on the Subharmonicon by using the sequencer 2, which is the one affecting the pitch. Pretty cool already. And we can also add the oscillator 2, which is sync now. This is only the start, because now we have all these outputs, the ones indicated in white from the Subharmonicon, that we can use to modulate some stuff on the Grandmother. A very cool one is to take the sequencer 1, for instance, which is going to take these values here of these knobs and put it on the cutoff in. So now the sequencer of the Subharmonicon, which is tuned by these two rhythm knobs, and that can be really quirky and never repeat because of how these sequencers are built, is gonna affect the cutoff. So if we close the filter and we start to play something, you see that the cutoff opens and closes accordingly to the values of these knobs. So I can close everything and I can start opening up only certain steps. Pretty cool. And now, since the oscillator 2 is in sync, we can take another patch and modulate the frequency of the oscillator 2 via the sequencer 2 of the Subharmonicon. This way, every time this knob is changing, also this knob here will change. Let's hear only oscillator 2, just to have a sense of what's going on. So it's not only the cutoff modulation coming from sequencer 1, but it's also the frequency modulation going into oscillator 2 coming from sequencer 2. And if we put some bass and maybe some drums for context, we get this really cool modular feel. We get this very interesting sound that are very unique rhythm-wise because of the sequencers of the Subharmonicon. The next thing I want to show you is how to use the LFO block of the Grandmother, but making it interact with the sequencer of the Subharmonicon. One of the patch bay output is sequence clock output. We take the sequence clock of the sequence 2 and we put it into the sync in of the LFO. So every time that there is a clock signal coming from sequencer 2, this LFO will reset. So giving these even more interesting and unique rhythmic patterns. By the way, if you want to know how this actually works, I made a video especially on the topic. Check it out, it should be appearing on the screen right now. So let's see what happens when we put the modulation wheel up. You can already see that the light here is following an interesting pattern because of this pattern. Let's see what happens when you put it in. Play around with the rate. We put in the Subharmonic. And this is not the only output that we can use. We can, for instance, take a filter envelope and start playing with the attack and the decay. Once the patch is assembled, it's just fun. With this sequencer controller, you can change the rhythm of the sound, of how it changes. Now it's just doing 16ths. And then remember, this one controlled both the frequency of this oscillator and also the frequency of the synced oscillator 2. So when they play together and we move one of these, it's gonna have a strong effect. change the rhythm of that. And this brings me to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the process of customizing your own sound by repatching the connections that are wired in this semi-modular synth. I really love semi-modular synths because they open possibilities that are in the realm of the modular system, but it's kind of contained. You don't have so many possibilities. I'm a bit afraid of switching to modulars, both financially and also because of the time it takes and the effort to make one sound, which at the end is incredible, but for my workflow I needed something that is more agile, it's faster to reach a cool, unique sound that is only mine, because I spent not 2 hours, but maybe 20 minutes to patch stuff and find the right knob values, but without endless possibilities, but just more than a normal synth that you cannot patch. That said, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my Patreon page, and I'll see you next time.